Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you might be happening to join us. Under normal circumstances, I'd be able to look out at you and see you in the sanctuary and greet you, and I love that. Alas, I must now speak into a computer screen and welcome you to our June 14th service a week ahead of time because we tape early. And I don't know what things are going to look like next week, but still, I welcome you to this service during a time of unprecedented turmoil and change. And change is badly needed in our unjust society. The Black American and former slave Frederick Douglass noted that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. And now thousands of people across our nation are marching in the streets, demanding change, and we welcome this. Ours is a welcoming congregation, meaning that we welcome every soul who passes through our doors or who joins us online. And we also welcome the passion and the courage and the commitment of those who work to create a more just and compassionate society. So welcome, welcome. May this service provide you an opportunity to pause, to reflect, and renew yourself during these challenging times of change.
Our opening hymn this morning is Golden Breaks the Dawn. It's 353 in the gray hymnal. Golden breaks the dawn, comes the eastern sun, over lake and lawn, sets its course to run. Birds above us fly, flowers bloom below. Through the earth and sky, life's great mercies flow. As the spinning globe rolls away the night, nature wears a robe spun of morning light. Dawn break in me too, as in skies above. Teach me to be true, fill my heart with love.
We are all longing to be together again, to where there are people with whom we can share our thoughts, where arms open and eyes light up when we enter the room. Until that time comes, our community is still here, still supporting each other and still working to heal a hurting world. Please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. As Unitarian Universalists, we are seekers on a quest for understanding. May this chalice light our way and bring us hope on our shared journey to discover truth and meaning. It is the tradition at UUCS to light our chalice for all our members and friends, for our partner church in Siemens-Balva, Transylvania, Romania, and for children and youth who give us hope for a better tomorrow. May this flame show us beauty, vision, and joy. So liberal religious education is still happening. They're meeting via Zoom on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. You can find the link at uusalem.org.
Today, we honor a member of our youth group as we mark a milestone in his life. In Unitarian Universalist tradition, bridging is what we call the transitional time of late teen years, when youth may move slowly and not necessarily in a straight line out of the youth community and more fully into the community of all ages. Bridging youth are welcome to move in and out of youth group until they are 21, as they find their way as young adults. I know the youth group will welcome bridging youth with open arms when they opt for that environment. And it's our job, the rest of us, to help them integrate when they choose to explore what else our congregation has to offer. James Schmidt, whose parents are Lorianne and Eric Schmidt, is a homeschooler who has been very involved with Village Home through the course of his education. He graduates from Village Home this term and has plans to attend Shemeketa in the fall. James then plans to transfer to Bastyr University in Seattle, Washington, in order to study psychology in preparation for becoming a therapist. James is interested in this career path not only because he has a natural talent in the discipline, but also because it is a profession he feels will feed his soul and be both helpful and rewarding. James has been an active member of the youth group for the past 3 years here at Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, and has most enjoyed his experiences at youth cons, of which he has attended 5. The youth cons provided him an opportunity to network with peers in the district, participate in meaningful experiences, and to engage in faith development. James tells me that he found the youth cons to be deeply connective and helpful in inspiring his encounter with that liminal space of all which is holy and spiritual. James has also been the most active member of the youth community at UUCS during his tenure here, and appreciates the connections he made with the various youth advisors, especially Megan and James, as well as all of the friends he made among the other youth here. Like our youth who have bridged over in past years, James brings these years of experience with collaborative leadership into the wider UU community, and we can all learn from him. He will forge his own path across the bridge, modeling his own ways of stepping into young adulthood.
When we dedicate children into our community and dedicate ourselves to them, we give them each a long-stemmed rose, and we remove the thorns. The buds are symbols of the beauty of each individual and unfolding life. And we offer roses with thornless stems as a symbol of our desire to protect the children of our church family from all that could be hurtful. And now, for this rite of passage, again a rose, whose stem this time is not so carefully stripped of its thorns. Though adult life is occasionally sharply painful, as well as rich in color and texture, we urge our younger adults to engage life fully. James, will you pick up the rose we delivered?
I will.
James, may your mind be open to new learning, and I know it is. May your lips bring truth to the world, and I've seen you do that so many times before. May your heart know love, and I know you have a loving heart, and your hands do the work of justice. And may you always remember from where you have come to support you in forging your own future. My wish and our hope for you is that you may become ever more fully yourself as you navigate the new waters of young adulthood. May the challenges you face be an opportunity to grow. May your gifts serve the world. And through all this, may you be blessed by knowing yourself to be whole and worthy. So James, we'd like to invite you to share a few words if you would like.
It's hard to put into words what Unitarian Universalism has given me. I was recommended this church by a friend, and while I didn't get the same spiritual satisfaction others got from the worship, I found incredible community in other aspects, such as the connection group I was in, the youth conventions, and the youth group at my church. The connection group was an enlightening experience. I really loved the diversity in viewpoints we had in our discussions. And as in many other places, in Newism, I felt very welcome. And in the youth group, I deeply appreciated the discussions we were able to have, from things deep, complex, and philosophical to things more humorous, light, and whimsical. These discussions were something I greatly enjoyed and appreciated. I remember I first heard of the UUCS conventions when I went to peer pastoral training, where I learned a way to care for others better. I couldn't go to the con that year, but I went to the next one, and it was truly transformative. The atmosphere is joyous and supportive. The workshops are great, and the worships are transcendental. It's 100+ people singing, and it sounds like the world. The harmonies no one plans, the feeling in your soul when everyone sings with you. It's beautiful, agnostic humanism, and I've never witnessed anything like it. I've always done my best to be kind, but now I can better see how to show my kindness. Unitarian Universalism has taught me how to connect with others in a way I couldn't access before. It's taught me kind spirituality and kind religion. It's taught me awareness of the space left for others in social situations. And when the world begins to overwhelm me, I can hum a few of the UU hymns I've learned to refill my reserves of calm. I am nervous, but happy to be looking forward, to be looking towards my future with the soul that Unitarian Universalism has helped me to discover I have.
James, what a beautiful testimonial. And I am so glad that you've been part of our community. And I'm so glad that you have been enriched through being involved in the youth group and our community. It really touches my heart, the testimonial that you've just given. And you're a wonderful person. It's so obvious through your testimonial. Normally at a time like this, we would ask our youth and their advisors to come forward when we could meet in person, and we'd share some words as a whole, and then we'd create a covered bridge for you, James, to walk through, which is a symbolizes your movement from youth to young adulthood. But like many milestone rituals this year, we're not able to meet and do this because of our commitment to staying safe, for caring for everybody during the pandemic. And so for you, James, and others who are missing graduations and commencements, we hold you in celebration and joy for all you have accomplished so far. But we are able to create a threshold of sorts today. Your parents, James, Lorianne, and Eric, are going to create an arch which you will move through as we witness your bridging. And so if you'll pass through the bridge. And I invite you to join in saying your part in the litany for bridging, which will be on your screen. Please remain muted. I'll say the words for the congregation aloud, and Megan will say those for the youth and youth advisors. And James, of course, you're going to speak for yourself. And so Lorianne and Eric and I speak now, but I guess you'll only hear me. Today, we honor the youth among us, you who are stepping beyond and away and toward. Today we share in your journey and we encourage your discovery.
Today we applaud you for all you've been, for all you are now, for all you will be.
Today I cross this bridge so that I may begin anew to hope and do and learn and be.
Today you cross this bridge. Go now and explore with wonder. We will support and nurture you. You are loved.
Today you cross this bridge. Be patient and hopeful. We will support and nurture you. You are an inspiration.
Today I cross this bridge. I welcome your blessing and move forward in hope.
Together we share a special place. Together we learn. Together we love. Together we grow. And now you were supposed to cross the threshold in. I'm sorry I blew it, but you already have crossed the threshold.
It's okay. It's still beautiful.
Yes. And you, James, have participated in the Chalice Lighting many times at youth cons and in church services, congregational services as a child, held by a supportive container of the Unitarian Universalist community. And now it will be your responsibility to light your own flame. Please remember to use this chalice lighting ritual in the future when you find yourself searching to light your way on your own path. And remember the love and the faith that are in this gift. They are here for you whenever you need them. This is a time of beginning to move beyond your youth to the fuller responsibilities of adulthood. Decisions about your religion, your faith, your life, and your personhood, they lie ahead. And you will decide whether or not you go to church, whether to belong to a congregation or to carry on your spiritual life. You'll decide this. And although you are free to choose wherever your heart leads you, we do hope that it leads you to continue being part of our congregational life. When you light this flame, we hope you'll remember all the lessons we have learned together. May you live your life in awareness, in recognition of beauty. And may you know that although there are manifestations of evil in the world, there are also manifestations of the good. Let the balance of what you do in the world add to the good. May you go in peace upon your journey. Blessed be.
Blessed
be.
Take a moment now to just settle in where you are. Take a breath. And just be aware of this moment in time. Aware. Before there can be compassion, there must be awareness. For too many in our country, especially Black people, brown people, and those on the economic margins, this is not the United States of America. It is the police state of America, where many must live in a state of apprehension, given the ever-present threat of police brutality. Our nation has been morally slumbering while too many have experienced this living nightmare. And now we're being awakened from this slumber, and we are becoming ever more aware of the dreadful toll this has exacted upon too many precious people whose lives have been harshly impacted. And we are becoming yet more aware, and as we become more aware, we will be moved to compassionate action. I invite you now to take a moment and be aware of the life around you, the lives of your loved ones, and loves, and your friends, the lives of those in your community, in our nation, in our world. Let our hearts and our minds be stretched by our awareness of the suffering and the travails of others. And may such awareness inspire us to compassionate and courageous action. Compassion is our way. And gratitude. There's so much that you can take for granted in life, feel entitled to. And now we are living in a time when much that we took for granted has been taken away from us, at least for a while. And then you begin to see that you were not entitled, you were gifted. It's all a gift, everything. Consider the gifts that flow your way. What feelings of gratitude arise? What entries could you make today in a gratitude journal? Take a moment now to make an entry in this journal. Compassion, gratitude. May they be our companions through every step of our journeys. We'd like to invite you to share your joys and concerns with us from Sunday to Sunday. If you'll send those in to us, we'll read them during our Sunday services. You'll see on our website that there's a place where you can submit your joy or concern, and I would like to start reading those very soon. Thank you.
A cup of tea. Nanin, a Japanese master during the Meiji era, was visited by a university professor who came to inquire about Zen. Being polite, Nanin served the professor a cup of tea. As he poured, the visitor's cup became full, but Nanin just kept pouring. The professor watched it overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. He shouted, "It is overfull! No more will go in." Nanin turned to the professor and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Working very hard. A martial arts student went to a teacher and declared that he wanted to learn martial arts. He declared he was devoted and ready. "How long will it take?" he asked. The teacher replied, 10 years. The student, a bit impatient and not satisfied with the answer, said, "But I want to master it faster than that. I will work very hard, practice 10 or more hours a day if necessary. How long would it take then?" The teacher replied, 20 years.
It is a complete mystery to me as to how I came to be born into this amazing world in a 7-pound, 11-ounce body in Atlanta, Georgia, back on June the 13th of 1950. But I do know that in the Buddhist tradition, they say that being born in human form is like winning the cosmic sweepstakes. It provides the rarest and most precious of opportunities to grow and experience the joy of being. While I lack the cosmic understanding to pronounce on such great matters beyond my comprehension, it does strike me that life is a precious gift, a miracle beyond imagining. Given our Arabic decimal number system, we often take special note of the passage of time when we move from one decade to the next. And seeing as how I just went through the 7th such transition in my life, or will by the time you hear this sermon anyway, it seemed like a good time to reflect on some key learnings from the successive decades of my life. So hang on here. We're going to go through all the decades of my life. If you'd like to pause between the decades and take a break and come back to the screen, that's okay, but let's get going here. The first 10 years. During the earliest years, I lived on a tree-lined street with all sorts of wondrous sights and smells and sounds, and I perceived the world to be a magical, mystical realm of being. The poet Wordsworth envisioned children as coming into this world from heavenly realms, trailing clouds of glory. And indeed, there is something heavenly in the way that children look at the world with this fresh sense of awe and wonder. Spend some time around children if you can. They can help you rekindle your sense of wonder. Franz Kafka rightly noted, youth is happy because it has the capacity to see beauty. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old. Yet also during these early years, I had one experience in particular which revealed the ugly side of life. When I was 7, I had a friend, Dale. He had some developmental disabilities. Back then they said he was retarded, but I never liked that term. And the cruelty and contempt with which Dale was treated by his family, his fellow students and teachers and everybody, it shocked and disheartened me. As far as I could tell, I was the only friend that Dale had in the world. And one morning I learned that Dale had died suddenly under suspicious circumstances. And even my young ears heard the shocking rumors that his death was not accidental, and I don't think that it was. Whether or not Dale's death was an accident or not, my heart breaks every time I think of all the cruelty and contempt he experienced in his short life. And the painful lesson I learned is that people are not always kind or fair or compassionate, and each one of us faces significant moral choices regarding how we treat others. Regarding the perils and the possibilities in relationships with others, Jesus advised his disciples, be as wise as serpents, as innocent as doves. Be as wise as serpents, as innocent as doves. Yes, be open to life and its many opportunities for growth, yet be aware that not everyone, I'm sad to say, will have your best interests at heart. Second 10 years. At the beginning of my second decade, my parents divorced. I rarely saw my father after that. In our conservative Southern Baptist culture, there was a stigma attached to this. My family was different. Not to mention that we had recently moved. We were living in the South at this time when my parents divorced, but we had recently moved from a multiracial army base in Europe, and I had lost all but a little trace of a Southern accent. And for this and other reasons I need not describe, I felt like an outsider. Not an embittered outsider, but I guess I would call it a structural outsider, which is to say that I felt excluded by so many of the structures of social life. I didn't feel welcome at schools or the church, was no good at competitive sports, society, social class. I felt my mom was a single mom working, supporting us. We felt economically challenged. I didn't feel like I belonged. I should hasten to add here that I have only rarely felt mistreated by others. Overwhelmingly, people of all races and classes and nationalities have been very kind to me, and I hope that others have experienced me in the same way. But that said, I felt like an outsider, and I came to see the great value in being such. Indeed, having an outsider's independent-minded perspective has enabled me to avoid some of the cultish, conformist pitfalls that lie in wait for those who slavishly follow whatever crowd they mix in. It might be religious or social or vocational or ideological. We are social animals, and this is mostly for the good, but the overwhelming desire to belong can lead you to betray yourself and your values when belonging to some group is the most important thing for you. As Ralph Waldo Emerson noted, I'm ashamed to think how easily we capitulate to badges and names, to large societies and dead institutions. Nothing at last is sacred but the integrity of your own mind, wrote Emerson. Be your own unique self. The 20s. When I turned 20, both my world and society had been turned upside down. To paraphrase Dickens, it was the worst of times and it was the best of times. I know I got it backwards. Dickens said it was the best of times and the worst of times, but I said it backwards because that's the way it happened for me. It was the worst of times because of great sorrows in my family life that broke my heart and shook me to the core. And then there was school. After a 4.0 liftoff, my zest for academics took a nosedive, and so did my grades. Other youth around me, the ones with whom I mostly came to identify, they were questioning the whole system and whether or not it even made sense to continue on the establishment's prescribed path to the middle class. And university students were dropping out in droves, and I joined them, and I took that plunge into what felt like an abyss. At no other point in my life, before or since, have I felt more unmoored and distraught and anxious. I had no idea what to do next. It was the worst of times. And yet, soon enough, it became one of the very best times of my life because I discovered, to my utter amazement and undying gratitude, the two great influences that have so profoundly shaped my life, the rest of my life, for the better. Although I never thought of myself as either a spiritual or an artistic person, I had deeply meaningful and uplifting experiences in both arenas. Up until that point, I had experienced myself as all alone in a vast universe, but then came unbidden spiritual experiences that really rocked my world. I had profound and transformative spiritual intimations that there lies something sacred and eternal at the core of all that is. As Martin Luther King Jr. put it, there is a heart at the heart of reality. There's a heart at the heart of reality. And these fleeting spiritual experiences, they gave me a strong sense of faith and awakened deep spiritual yearnings, leading me to become involved in Buddhist communities where I began learning to meditate. And I found this to be a very challenging and painful practice sometimes. But one thing I did come to recognize is that this is a transformative practice. It really is. I could tell beyond all doubt that this was a path of growth. Around the same time, the same year that I discovered meditation and Buddhism, I also discovered the music of Beethoven and classical music in general. Meanwhile, all my friends were listening to rock. I don't know why I got into classical music, but I sure fell in love with it. Classical music filled a spiritual void I didn't even know I had. This sublime music just sent me into ecstasy. And then, when I discovered Beethoven's late piano sonatas, I peered into vast heights and depths of thought and feeling that transcended all I had known before. And this music became a holy refuge where my spirit could always repair, especially during the loneliest times. Oh, how I loved and do love this music. It revealed to me and everlastingly affirms that life does have meaning. And thus my long, immeasurably enriching exploration of classical music from Bach to Bartok to Gulabov Davis, this music stretches my heart and mind, and it immeasurably enriches my whole life perspective. I'm a happier person because of it. The 30s. The night I turned 30, a friend invited me out for a drink, and he offered me a ride home afterwards on his motorcycle. Well, he forgot to bring an extra helmet, so I had to take the bus home, and it took a long time because the buses didn't run that often. It took about 2 hours. And when I finally got home late that night, I discovered that my friend was supposed to have kept me away from the house for a short while my roommates prepared for my surprise birthday party, which I missed. They saved me some cake. It kind of seemed symbolic, though. Having finally earned a liberal arts degree, I still didn't know how I planned to earn my living. I felt myself missing out, drifting into the stagnant backwaters of life. One day, I was invited by some friends. I was working for them in their house, and they wanted me to give a talk because they heard me talk about Beethoven. There was going to be a performance of Beethoven's The Missa Solemnis, and I offered to give a little talk about this because I dearly love the music, and I really wanted others to be as moved as I was by the music. And on the title page of this masterpiece, The Missa Solemnis, Beethoven wrote, "Coming from the heart, may it go to the heart. Coming from the heart, may it go to the heart." After my little talk to this small group of friends, I was struck by the realization that my talk, it was really more of a sermon. What I shared came from my heart and was directed at the listeners' hearts. Indeed, evidence had been piling up telling me that the Unitarian Universalist ministry, a free faith tradition, was where I was called to go. So I finally took the leap into the cold, clear, flowing waters of change to see where they would take me. Near the end of theology school, I was invited to serve as intern minister at the First Unitarian Church of San Diego. I had finally found my path and committed myself to it. Yet mine was a lonely path. I was well into my 30s, single and tired of searching. And then at the end of my internship, I met and stayed in touch with a beautiful woman from Macedonia, which I thought Macedonia was another name for the country of Greece. Wrong, Macedonia is its own country. This young Macedonian woman, she had a good sense of humor too. And the flame of love sparked to life. Soon enough, I was called to my first congregation in Los Angeles, not so far away from San Diego, and that was where Gordana and I got married in my first settlement. I did not officiate at my own wedding, although I had already officiated a few weddings, and I had this wedding handbook, and it had the words, the original words in wedding vows would say "till death do us part," but the wedding manual I had said, instead of that, it said, "for as long as love shall last." And I never did like that tepid phrase, "for as long as love shall last." And so I replaced it with this phrase, "for all the days to come," for all the days to come, when I made my wedding vow. After all, feelings of affection can wax and wane, but true love calls for commitment, even when you don't feel the love, because you have faith that love will return. Cornel West notes, we have to recognize that there cannot be relationships unless there is commitment, unless there is loyalty, unless there is love and patience and persistence. So a key lesson from my 30s was this. You can't stand on the banks of the river of life forever. You have to jump in by making key commitments you're called to make and see where it takes you. In my case, my plunges into the river of change swept me into ministry, in marriage, and then swept me into another significant commitment that arose at the beginning of my next decade. The 40s. Before our son Zachary was born, Gordana and I were at a birthing class, and the teacher led us all from one room to another for a special demonstration. And as our large group of first-time parents-to-be marched down the corridor of the hospital, I found myself deeply moved. It was just a simple walk with a bunch of other parents-to-be, but for me, it felt like a sacred rite of passage to parenthood. Just as generations before us had walked this path, so too were we walking it. It was a poignant moment. And then there I was in the hospital room at Thousand Oaks, California on July 23rd, 1991, as Gordana and I welcomed Zachary, our one and only, into the family. I had no clue what lay ahead for me as a father, and I didn't know what being a father meant, but I knew what not having a father around felt like. So I resolved to do all I could to protect and love and support my son, our son. It's been said that parents don't raise children, children raise parents. And for me, I think that worked. It was good that I took the step into parenthood after I was a bit older and mature, that I was ready to make some of the sacrifices that love asks of us. The sacrifices Gordana made were much greater than mine. She homeschooled Zachary while I ministered, yet for years, I always found an hour a day to sit with him and coach him while he practiced the piano. It was a sacred paternal practice for me. I wouldn't miss it, never. At that time, when I was sitting next to my son, he was on the piano bench. I had no idea that one day he would go on to become a great composer and that Gordana and I would be joining with others to give him a standing ovation at Carnegie Hall after the premiere of his monumental second violin concerto. I didn't see that coming, not when I was sitting coaching my son. Not everyone becomes a parent, but everyone is called by love to make sacrifices, to put the welfare and well-being of others above your own in some way by serving a cause, an organization whose mission and values you strongly affirm, or by promoting the rights and well-beings of others. Every one of us is called by love to make sacrifices. The 50s. A number of years ago, when I was just a 50-something, my son Zach and I planted some fruit trees and bushes, fruit bushes, blueberry bushes, in a small plot of land we had acquired. Plums, pears, apples, blueberries, marionberries, raspberries. And somehow, in spite of the fact that I was inexperienced, everything took root and really grew. The conditions were ripe for this: good soil, good location, lots of rain and sunshine. More amazingly, a few years earlier, something else took root and grew. Our congregation planted a new home here out on the east edge of town. We hadn't done this kind of thing before. We were inexperienced, and such monumental efforts do not always bear fruit. There are zoning problems, lackluster fundraising, spiking construction costs, and other pitfalls often waylay congregations trying to build. But the opposite was true for us. Everything went much better than we expected, and we built a beautiful home here. One reason was our timing. Historians note that 3 conditions are necessary for history to be made: having the right people in the right place at the right time. Good timing. This is wonderful, this timing. And yet, I never quite got the message in the earlier years of my ministry. There were times when I wanted to push ahead with some great ideas and they just didn't get traction, no matter how hard I tried. And why was this? Was it because I wasn't persuasive enough? No, it was because the time wasn't right. And pushing too hard only sets you back in life. If you pay attention, you come to that place where you recognize that sometimes you can control yourself, but you cannot and should not try to control other people. It's disrespectful and it's counterproductive, not to mention arrogant. Good things happen in their own time. You can plant and water and you do your best, but it's not up to us to make the fruit grow and ripen. Power is greater than us. Take care of that. And so you plant and nurture as you can, remembering all the while that the true meaning of life is to plant trees in whose shade you do not expect to rest. The 60s. One day I drove up to our building and some young children from the preschool, they ran out thinking that I was a parent bringing one of their friends, and upon seeing me, one of them quipped, "It's not him, it's just an old man." It never occurred to me that one day I would get to play the old man role. In fact, so many of us who are called old, we can affirm we don't feel that way. And yet then again, maybe I do feel old in some ways. There's a certain kind of wisdom that only comes through long, repeated, sometimes painful experience. And as I entered my 6th decade, I realized that maybe I had learned a thing or two about life. Like I've learned about the reality of suffering. It runs like a thread through the fabric of life, and no one escapes it. In fact, it is often in our attempts to avoid suffering that leads to so much neurosis and fear and anxiety, which is more suffering. Some suffering can and should be avoided, but suffering caused by the inevitable losses in our lives, it can't be avoided. In facing suffering and being with it, you learn that you can bear it, that there is more to you than you realized, and you see how suffering creates opportunities for compassion to manifest and bring us together. I credit my meditation practice for helping me cultivate a measure of equanimity that keeps me grounded during those times when my heart or my body aches from pain and loss. Accepting inevitable suffering and loss with equanimity lessens the suffering you experience. Perhaps it's the same meditation practice that helps me more deeply appreciate the life I have today. Now, I can enjoy the literal and figurative fruit of my earlier labors. Now I can enjoy them, but I don't feel like I have earned a single piece of this fruit, only that I am grateful for the sweet fruit from our garden, grateful for the many gifts from my forebears who planted trees before I was born, grateful to you, the members and friends of this congregation, with whom I feel such a deep sense of love and trust. And grateful to all my friends, to my wife and my son, Zach, Dr. Zach Bulloboff Davis, whose musical compositions are profound and creative and serve the highest and noblest purposes of art. The 70s, we made it. As I am about to pass through the threshold that says 70, I always remember this sign I saw when I would visit Glee Kearns at Capitol Manor. Glee Kearns was just a delightful lady. She was a a nonagenarian member who lived at Capitol Manor. And whenever I walked in to visit Lee Kearns, I always saw that sign right in front as I walked in, and it said, "Aging ain't for sissies." I believe it was Betty Davis who said that first. Aging ain't for sissies. So far, I've been fortunate enough in enjoying good health, and yet I know it won't last forever. None of us knows how long we have, yet we do know that we, like all mortal beings, will go through that transition we call death. And this is a topic worthy of its own separate discussion. And let's have that soon, maybe next year. For now, suffice it to say that I have a sense sublime that we are each of us part of something greater than we comprehend, and that death may not be as it appears to be. It's a mystery. We're born in mystery, we live and love in mystery, and we die in mystery. And the river of life flows onward, ever onward, out into the infinite seas, wherein I sense lie treasures beyond our imagining. Amen. Thank you for bearing with me on that long journey through the decades. And I'd invite you now to simply pause, and perhaps something that I said stirred up something in you. And I would invite you to just be with that feeling, explore it, see where it takes you, see what it reveals to you. Pause now. Breathing softly. Being aware of this wonderful life we share. Let us take a sacred pause.
We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the ones to meet the challenges, join the fight, support the cause, and help those in need by supporting the ministries of this congregation. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is the Nellie Thompson Dorothy Patch Scholarship Fund. This fund assists Salem area ethnic minority students to be able to go to college or trade school. Contributions may be made by logging onto our website, uusalem.org, or through the mail. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Each week, we kindle the light of our social justice lantern from our community chalice. This is a symbol of the many ministries of this congregation, which work tirelessly toward a fairer, more just society. As I extinguish the flame of our shared chalice, I pray that the warmth of love and the light of wisdom we have shared together will stay with you throughout the coming week.
Our closing hymn today is For All That Is Our Life. It's 128 in the gray hymnal. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. And well, that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. And all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Would you please join me for our closing words? Pretend you're holding hands with somebody. Imagine that you're holding hands with somebody, a beloved friend in the congregation on either side, as we say these words together, as we do every Sunday. May faith in the spirit of life and hope for the community of earth and love for the sacred and one another be ours now and in all the days to come. May it be so.